Hello, everyone. Gary Laubach, Mike Joseph. Thanks again to Will Newsidle for his assistance in getting ready for Behind the Mic. We're glad you are with us again. Another away game, although interesting. We're going to leave Easton to travel to Easton, which is kind of unusual, but 282-mile trip to Easton, Massachusetts to take on Stonehill at Timothy J. Coughlin Class of '80 Memorial Field at W.B. Mason Stadium. I'm not sure how they get all of that on the stadium before you walk in. But, Mike, before we take a look at them and take a look at us and what we did this past week, let's go around the league a little bit. First of all, we had a league game. Lehigh takes on Richmond. Lehigh wins that ball game. Very impressive doing it. We often talk about momentum. That was a game where momentum completely shifted, I think, the outcome.
Yeah, and it was similar to the playoff game of last year. Richmond just couldn't do anything in the red zone. The biggest mistakes they made were in the red zone. That obviously the snap over the center's head, the center over the quarterback's head, set them back 22 yards when they were in first and goal. So they're really kicking themselves from that standpoint. But Lehigh capitalized on everything they did. They had one special team blemish with the kickoff return by Richmond, but otherwise they were good offensively. They stayed with the running game, which they need to do because that's what they do. They're not a big throwing team with Hayden Johnson, but they do a good job of that, and they play defense, and they play great defense. They get you into third and long or second and long situations. They're coming after you, and they're tough to stop up front.
And they have Sacred Heart this week, so they're looking to go 2-0 in that ballgame. 21-14. It tells you a lot about their defense. As Mike mentioned, they really only gave up 7 points on the defensive side of the football. And they looked impressive, so they're 1-0 in the Patriot League. Georgetown crushes Davidson. I don't know what that means, 51-14. Doesn't mean a lot.
No, not much there. Davidson kind of struggling, and Georgetown did the same thing to them last year, so I kind of expected that.
As we look at Boston College Fordham, again, not unexpected. Boston College all over them, 66-10. Here's a good one, though. Holy Cross against Northern Illinois, 19-17 ball game. Tells you a little bit about Holy Cross.
Yeah, and you look at the beginning of Holy Cross's season last year, they lost several games by 1 or 2 points, New Hampshire by 2, and they had struggled to, at the end to put games away, but I thought they played well. They didn't run the ball as well as I thought. They were okay in the pass game, and their defense, again, is just got to make big plays for them. And if they're going to win games, the defense is going to have to come up and set them up in field position so they can score. They're not a really crazy potent offense, but they hung in there, and that's a good Northern Illinois team.
For sure. I think the other impressive ball game in the Patriot League was Colgate. As they lose to Monmouth ranked. They lose them 42-39. They probably should have won the game. They were up 24-7.5.
It was 31-7 in the third quarter. I was watching the game as I was coming back from the golf course, and I'm like, Mike, they're going to put it to Monmouth. What's going on with Monmouth? And obviously, Coach Callahan, the longest tenured guy there, he had them ready to play later on. But if you go back and look, the great quarterback that they have, he threw 4 picks in the first half, gave possessions away in the second half, 4 touchdowns. So 4 picks, 4 touchdowns. He was unbelievable, threw for close to 500 yards of offense, and Colgate couldn't stop him when they needed to. Colgate turned the ball over a couple times, had a sack fumble type of thing, but a very entertaining game, and it tells you that Colgate is ready to play.
Yeah, you throw 4 interceptions in a ball game and win, you just take that one and run out of the stadium for sure. Air Force kills Bucknell. Again, no surprise in that one. All right, let's take a look. First of all, at Lafayette. They lose their ball game against Bowling Green, 26-7. But I know you talked last week in your Inside the Huddle. You talked about special teams. And this game centered all around special teams. I mean, we certainly have an opportunity to beat this football team without the kickoff returns.
Yeah, and like you said, if you just look at the score later on, Lafayette got beat. But you know what? They're in the game. Honestly, there were opportunities to win that game, and I think Coach Troxel will talk about that today. But the opening kickoff for a touchdown, again, putting your 2s on the field versus their 1s. I mean, it's really a tough situation. The spread and the depth showed its head right there, put us in a hole. But after that, the defense was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. And when you hold a team like that under 300 yards total offense, a highly touted Drew Pine at quarterback, Lafayette hung in there. They just couldn't get separation on the outside with the wide receivers. The Bowling Green defensive backs were big and strong as well as them up front. But I thought Lafayette held their own. They were right in that game. I was on the sideline And it was an amazing experience. And again, that game should have been 13-7, and Lafayette should have scored again. An opportunity for Lafayette lost, but again, they can take a lot of positives away from that.
It makes you wonder whether we'll see a field goal kicker better than what we saw this past weekend. Jackson Cleather, 51-yarder, 39-yarder, 35-yarder. They were all right through the middle of the uprights. He did an outstanding job. And again, those 2 kickoff returns, one for a touchdown, another one for 65 yards, and that set them up very nicely for their scores and their field goals. I was really, really impressed with Lafayette's tackling. I thought it was outstanding.
I mean, for a question mark on the was the defense. Could they stand up with all the new faces? But a lot of guys had played before. Robert Stevens was outstanding. D was fantastic at linebacker. Yes. I thought the D-line did a good job. But the way they tackled, I think they had, I counted 1 missed tackle the whole game. I mean, they were flying to the football, making plays in the secondary. They almost had a pick for a touchdown. They did so many good things defensively. It's a bright spot. It's looking up. It was a question mark. You know, right now, if they play that way the rest of the year, Lafayette's going to win a lot of ball games.
You mentioned Stevens. You mentioned D. And Gadsden also. Gadsden had a really nice ball game. You know, we came in thinking, what about our linebackers? Our linebackers were terrific.
They were outstanding. The way they flowed to the ball and the energy on the sideline every time they came off. Coach St. Germain was in their face again. It's kept what he just kept saying. Let's do it again. Take our opportunities. I don't care where it is on the field. He was saying whether it were our own 10 or out, going in. I mean, it was amazing. The energy. The defense responded. They got a little bit of a break because the offense put a drive together, and they were talking on the sideline about that. It was exciting. And you think about it, the special teams yardage, which was over 150 yards in kickoff returns, was the bright spot for Bowling Green. Otherwise, I think they have some issues going forward.
I agree, too, with that. What was the problem offensively? We really had trouble running the ball. We didn't run the ball very well. We missed some open guys. Some passes were not. But is that more FCS, FBS, where it's problematic going against their D?
I didn't see a huge difference. They have the same guys we have. They just have more of them. Okay. So I didn't see I just saw missed opportunities, some short passes dropped, some situations, maybe a missed block up front. Dean had to scramble and get away. They tied up and swallowed up Elijah a little bit with the bigger defensive backs. And then I was hoping to get a little bit more out of Carson Persing and Mason Keener. There wasn't a lot there, just not the opportunity. So, again, staying on schedule, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 15 was not where you want to be. A lot of pre-snap penalties. Penalties really weren't the issue, although we had an out-of-bounds hit late defensively. But, I thought the offense just needs to be more consistent. That's it. If they are, they're going to score.
And we talked about special teams, but I thought the punting was good. The kickoffs were good. The other special teams, it was just the kickoff. And I like Mike's analogy. I think it's R2s against their ones. And in an FBS, FCS situation, that makes it very difficult. All right, Stonehill, Coach Eli Gardner in his 10th year, so he's been around for a while. They are an FCS team. They've been one since 2022. And they just couldn't do much offensively in their ball game against Sacred Heart. As we mentioned, 0-0 at the half, but the second half they just decided to put the ball up, and they did a nice job with Jack O'Connell at quarterback. He's a 190-pound junior, 30 for 39. He threw a touchdown and an interception, 212 yards, so they can throw the ball.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what they're going to have to do against Lafayette, especially if Lafayette gets them off schedule, gets them into 2nd and long and those things. Lafayette has an opportunity to tee off a little bit up front, get after it, bring some pressure. But the speed of the Lafayette defense, I expect them to play very well. I expect them to get a few sacks. I expect them to get some turnovers, give the ball back to Dean DeNoble. But this is a team, if you let it slide, and again, you're going to Easton up there. It's a long ride. Anytime you go up to Boston area, you've got to show up with your game. And I think that's the most important thing for Lafayette this week. Let's go play Leopard football. Let's take what we learned from last week. Let's take 2 wins at the end of the season last year, and let's eliminate the mistakes. The issues for Lafayette have been mistakes and inconsistency in the last 4 or 5 games. This is a game they should win, but they have to go up and win it, not hope the other team loses it.
And the good news, it doesn't look like they have much of a rushing attack. Jarrell Washington is their running back, but he only had 44 yards, 2.6 yards per carry in the ball game. They had 184 yards rushing last year against Sacred Heart in 24. They didn't accomplish that this year. Xavier Wooder will run the ball, but he only had a couple of yards. Their best receiver is Brigham Dunphy. He had 9 catches. He was busy, but they did use 8 different receivers, so they have a pretty good receiving core. Defensively, Battaglia looks good. Irvine looks good. Their defense actually looked pretty good, and in fact, they were inside the 20 at the end of the ball game. They had a chance to win it.
Yeah, they did have a chance to win it, and their defense kept them there. Anytime you can only give up 12 points is huge. So their defense kept them in the ball game, and they're going to be excited, obviously, for an opener up there. And Battaglia is terrific. He runs side. He reminds me of a Lafayette linebacker, a good, hard-nosed, in-gap Mike linebacker that can go sideline to sideline. He can make stops. They have athletes in the secondary, so if you don't separate from them, they're going to knock ball down, tip balls, that type of thing. We need to be consistent all the way around. But this is a defense that's going to come to play at home in their first game, and they're going to want to win a game. Again, especially a Patriot League game, they're going to want to put Lafayette, away.
And they're not going to forget that they got thrashed last year, 42-10 in last year's ball game. I'm sure they remember that, and they want a little bit of revenge. This one should be a W?
Absolutely. There's no reason it shouldn't be. If you go play Lafayette football, you do what you're supposed to do. Don't make mistakes. We need to be a little bit better in the kicking game. We only had 1 opportunity for an extra point. I'd like to see Jack get on the field and kick a couple field goals. I'd like to see Mac kick the ball into the end zone. We talked so much, highly touted. That was an issue on Saturday. We didn't get the ball into the end zone for touchbacks. I mean, it was just a situation where we need to do the things that we're practicing. And Lafayette, again, put everything in front, show them what you are, and this is the Lafayette football team. They got to show something this week because, again, another away game the following week, then they come home for the month of October.
Yeah, you want to get ready because Georgetown is the following week. Don't look ahead to the Patriot League. First of all, let's beat Stonehill. That's what we hope will happen. That's it for Behind the Mic. And again, we'll be back our first home game September 19th, Columbia. That's a Friday night ball game. I think Mike can work on a Friday. For Mike Joseph, I'm Gary Laubach. Thanks for watching.